How many Fort of Fortunes have you attempted that has ended with you losing out on the fabled Chest of Fortune? Well, today I'll show you how to make sure that you leave every battle zone with its prized item, no matter the skill of the other pirates, so that you can achieve the legendary Fates of Fortune ship set. I will start this tale off by saying there is plenty here that a solo sloop will learn, and more towards the end on how they can be victorious for sure. However, these first tips are mostly for multiple pirates together, either duo sloop, brigantine, or a full galleon crew. And my crewmate today has only sailed once before this, so you do not need to be experienced. Now, as you know, this event brings forth the entire seas, and soon you will have every ship in an alliance, all fighting for survival. But when you are the first ones there, what should you do? First of all, check that you really are the first pirates there, as if the cannons from the island do not fire at you, then others are hiding nearby. Luckily for us though, we spotted one jumping off into the nearby tower, and these are great tuck spots for unsuspecting victims, not keeping an eye in the waters for mermaids. For now though, I wanted to see if he was planning anything. But if you want to be sure to take your prize, keep one pirate on the ship to protect it, whilst the other goes up and deals with the problem. After some time, I realised that they were just waiting for us to finish, and decided to take my own advice and get rid of him. However, as I waited back on the ship and let my crewmate face the fort, he noticed there was a mermaid still here, and we were still not alone. Always make sure someone is on your ship so that you can prevent them tucking on you, as hiding on another pirate's ship will hide their mermaid and make you believe that you are safe. But in this instance, I climbed up inside the other tower, finding another man tucking on the top. Be sure to check here, as this can be an easy to miss spot if you are not aware of it. But luckily we were able to take him out and continued on with me watching over the red beard as my crewmate carried on with the fort. As expected, they returned as we could see them in the distance, and before long, one of them attempted to board us, but was quickly stopped in his tracks. See, had we both been on the fort, this would have been an easy tuck for them. However, we wanted it for ourselves and we were not taking chances. They sailed up on us, but with the open sea ahead, we spotted them in plenty of time, and as I made my way over with the ship, my crewmate fired from the fort, which was a great way to confuse and outmaneuver your opponent, as you can attack them from multiple angles. Eventually, knowing we had hit them plenty of times with cannons, we rammed them as I stayed on and bucketed, and my crewmate jumped across to take them on. However, it appeared we had exchanged pirates, and one of them had boarded us. But luckily, it was our side that managed to take both of them out, and soon they sank. But we were now far enough away that the fort cannons began firing at us again. As I was constantly bucketing and repairing, I had my crewmate jump over to the island and stop the bombardment of the cannons, as once you are over at the island, the cannons will cease firing. And soon enough, we were fully repaired and ready to continue keeping an eye for other ships while taking on the Skellies. This is a huge tip here though, as they sailed over again and we could see that they had parked in the distance. But our mistake was focusing so hard on just that ship that we missed a very fast approaching brigantine, and in cases like this, it's best to buy time, and as I lowered the sails, I began sailing around the island, stopping them from reaching us as we tried to gauge their skills with their blade or guns. I saw them get onto the island, and knowing that if they complete the fort, by the time we got there the chest already may be gone. So I made a quick play as my crewmate continued to sail around. Getting aboard is a great way to test enemy pirates, seeing how quickly they react, and luckily for me, I was able to grab onto their ladder whilst they were checking the opposite side, and I hopped up and began taking them out one by one. They were anchored down and struggling to fight me off, and several times they were inches from sinking. However, my crewmate had not spotted a keg heading straight for our ship, and after hearing that our ship was down, I was soon also taken out. and now we were racing against time to get the Redbeard back into the mix. Luckily for us, my crewmate was still tucking on the island, and they seemed none the wiser, and as I started approaching, he began to fire at them with cannons from the fort. As they tried dealing with him, I was able to sail up and fire more at them before once again boarding as another sloop began to enter the fray. On the brigantine, however, I continued to take them out over and over again until they had finally sunk, but now our attention had turned on the sloop. As we fired upon them and hammered them with cannons, I once again tried to board, but spotted a man in the water with a keg heading straight towards our ship, and luckily, hearing my words, my crewmate managed to maneuver out of the way, dodging this attempt. The sloop had now sunk, and knowing pirates from both the sloop and brigantine were on the fort, I got my crew to sail around as I made it on, taking them all out and trying to finish off the skellies. However, the brigantine was soon back. I fired cannons from the tower at them, and after getting some hits, we sailed towards them, and after killing two, I realised we were going to be here for way too long, as this had already spanned to over an hour and a half, and we were still no closer to the chest. So as my crewmates sailed around yet again, I went straight to the fort and continued to push towards the Ashen Lord. I continued to fight them off on the island, as now the sloop had also returned, and we were all fighting over who had control of the fort. This wasn't helping anyone, so I decided that it was time to stop this, forming a truce for now as we were now faced with the Ashen Lord, and we could all focus on that. But just note that every alliance formed here on these Fort of Fortunes are doomed to fall the moment that vault door opens. And a useful tip for solos, you can sit at the back waiting for them to run in and shoot the kegs before running in, stealing the chest of fortune. But that's not how this tale goes. Another quick tip, make sure your crewmates are in on the plan, as I hadn't made mine aware and he began to fire upon the brig, but after letting them know and arriving back, I managed to de-escalate the situation as I explained to them the misunderstanding, and this alliance was already walking on eggshells. But here's something I have never experienced before, and it actually shocked me at how clever of a plan it was, as the crew from the brigantine talked me into betraying the sloop, firing cannons from the island on them as they would from their ship. This however backfired as I began firing, and it turned out they had framed me, saying to the sloop that I was betraying them and trying to take us down, but now I knew I was being set up and I was taking no prisoners. I took them out and told them exactly what happened, but now I knew that everybody was seconds away from firing at each other, so we quickly tried to carry on until the brig actually decided to fire at the sloop and sink them after the plan of setting me up had failed, and once again it was just us and the brigantine. As my crewmate continued to sail around, I now hid at the top, laying a keg trap so that once the Ashen Lord had been defeated, I could make a quick getaway as you saw previously. However, this one would prove to be a little different. They spotted the trap, and quickly I sprung up, shooting the keg and blowing them off the ledge, finishing them off in the water before picking up the key and fighting for it. Once I knew that all three were on the ferry, I grabbed the key and I opened the vault, grabbing the chest of fortune, and thanks to our ship always being mobile, it was right there to pick me up and secure the chest. But this is not over. As my crewmates sailed on, I jumped off again, getting onto the fort, grabbing the chest of legends and burying that before grabbing an Athena keg, hiding that and returning to the Redbeard to hand in our prize. As expected, we sold it, but as this particular steal was for an ongoing charity event, we wanted the chest of legends too, so back we headed to finish off the brig. Arriving there, I picked up the keg first, and managing to get a board on them, we blew them up, sinking them instantly. leaving us to easily take the Athena back to Sanctuary Outpost to sell, creating both an epic tale and raising money for charity. If you're a solo, I'd recommend keeping your ship nearby but hidden, and tuck on the island where possible, as fighting against them all head to head can prove to be a difficult task, and forming alliances is so rocky that you really cannot trust anybody. However, if you'd like to hear more tales like this or want more tips, be sure to subscribe to the tavern and comment on what things you want me to cover, or join us over on Twitch where you can see us making these plays live. Arrgh!